Right, so if you're a first-time home buyer, you're probably considering, should you go for a condo or should you go for a house? So I want to break this down. Let's go through all the little details regarding what is the advantages and disadvantages of going for a condo as your first purchase versus going for your first home as your first purchase. So for folks that are considering to purchase a condo, there's obviously some advantageous reasons right there. You can probably see it right away in the price point. So typically condos, whether you're looking at 2 or 3 bedroom condos, you'll see that they fall at a better price point than if you're considering, let's say, a 2 or 3 bedroom house. Reason for that is the land. With a condo, you are looking at a corporation, condominium corporation, where you have to share and be part of the maintenance fee structure. I'm going to cover that in a little bit. But the idea here with a condo ownership is you own the dwelling, the unit itself, and you also own the parking lot, if a parking lot is included, a locker, and you are also responsible for a percentage of all of the expenses. So that means the 24-hour security that you're seeing in the concierge in the front, that you have to pay a percentage of that. Whether there's upkeep of the grounds, the cleaning the elevators, servicing the elevators, the pool, the gym, and all the other amenities around the condominium, these are all going to be captured on an expense sheet, and you'll pay a percentage of that. One thing that I want to talk about is the larger the condominium, the larger the percentage or the more expensive your maintenance fees become. And the reason for that is typically maintenance fees are tied to a square footage cost. So they'll say things like 60 cents or 70 cents per square feet, which means if you have an 800 square foot condo and the maintenance fees are, let's say, 70 cents per square foot, then you can typically expect about a $560 maintenance fee. Just some quick math over there for you. So the one thing I want to talk about here now is, what does that mean for a first-time home buyer? Now, when you're looking to purchase a condominium, you are going to be looking at the purchase price, then you're going to be looking at the maintenance fees, the property taxes, and that's going to be essentially your, if you want to call it, balance sheet on your expenses that you have to really worry about. These are the three main things that are important to cover when you're looking at purchasing a condo. Now, the bank will look at the maintenance fees of that building and the taxes, and it will then see what your affordability is like. One thing I want to talk about when you're purchasing a condo as a first-time home buyer is see how much or see what is covered and not covered in the maintenance fees. What I want to talk about here is, in Toronto market, for example, many condominiums don't actually include hydro. Some of the older ones do, but some of the newer ones don't include hydro, which is your electrical bill for within the maintenance fees. Only the heat and only the water is actually covered. So now when you're making that decision, looking at your full monthly cash flow, or looking at how much your expenditure is on a monthly basis, it's not just your mortgage that you have to think about, not just your maintenance fee, and not just your property tax. These are the three common ones, but also your utilities. So hydro might not be included there, so you want to make sure that's covered. Now let's jump at purchasing a house. Okay, now the purchasing a house as your first time home buyer is, of course, is difficult. So it's obvious for folks that are going to say, well, I can't afford a house. Well, then you kind of have your answer already. You want to maybe start off with a condo, maybe a condo townhouse, and work your way, build some equity there, pay it down a little bit, as it appreciates. Then you can consider either refinancing and then buying that house, rent this out, or if the ratios don't make sense, the debt ratios don't make sense, and your realtor and your financial planner will sit you down, and the bank will tell you, look, you have to sell your condo, get all that equity out, and then go purchase that house. So the idea here is, if you have the option, then let's take a look at the advantages of buying the house right away. So the advantages of buying the house right away is, of course, you don't have to move twice. You're just moving once. You're going for that bigger home, ideally the first time around. And the way it works here is you're able to get into the market with that bigger purchase right away, start paying that down. If you have to maybe be leveraged a little bit more, which I'll talk about in a different video, what leveraging is and all that. But instead of maybe putting 30-40% down payment on a condo, you go with 15 or 20% on a house. That's what I mean, basically, that you can actually get some advantages going that route, because you're leveraged. So as the property appreciates, you'll notice that your return on investment is a little bit higher. Now, you do have to bear a larger mortgage there. So you have to worry, it's all about the expenses and your budgeting. Are you making sure that you are comfortable with the expenses? Especially nowadays, right? We're seeing interest rates of 5, 6, in some cases even 6.5%. So you want to make sure that you're able to handle this larger purchase. Second thing you have to worry about here is property taxes. Now, keep in mind, both condos and houses both have property taxes, but it's very common to see the property taxes for homes are 2 or even sometimes 2.5 or 3 times as much, depending on the areas. The great thing is about Toronto is it typically has the lowest property taxes around all the other cities neighboring it. Now, you do have to purchase, when you are purchasing the property, you do have a separate land transfer tax, which again we'll talk about in a separate video, that you have to burden. So it's a little bit higher upfront cost purchasing specifically in Toronto, but then you do see the benefit with much lower property taxes. Now, we talked about the maintenance fees that you have to deal with, about $500 to $600 typically in condos. What's the catch here with houses? How come there's no maintenance fees? Well, simply it's just offloaded to you. The maintenance fees here in a condo cover things like the upkeep of the place, the exterior grounds, the garden, we talked about security and whatnot, and the amenities. Now, you don't have amenities in your home ownership, in your home itself, but you do have to consider things like changing the windows, changing the roof, maintaining the exterior, right, in general, right, whether it's the garden, whether it's even, some people don't realize, but even solid brick houses, there's actually cracks that do form over time. They're natural, don't want you to panic, but you have to also maintain these things. The soffits, the gutters and whatnot. So there's quite a bit of stuff to actually, maintain throughout the house. And that is why we say, even if you don't have maintenance fees, you should put a maintenance budget. And depending on the age of your home, Realtor can kind of give you a very rough estimate, or you can also bring a home inspector, not just when you're buying or selling a home. You can actually bring a home inspector for your natural home that you live in and get an idea of what general expenses or budget you need to keep for maintenance. Now, a very rough rule of thumb is keep 1% of your home value as a maintenance budget. So if you own, let's say, a $500,000 house, keep a budget of at least $5,000 sitting on the side. So, typical houses are in the $800,000, $900,000, maybe million range. So you do want to keep $8,000 to $10,000 budgeted just in case, something happens so that you can address it. All right. So I kind of covered a little bit of both here. What is, beneficial for first-time home buyers, whether you go for a condo versus whether you go for a house. One important thing I want to talk about before I end this is for a house, something called flexible living. So yes, it is more expensive to buy a house. Yes, you do have the burden, if you want to call it, of the mortgage payments are a lot higher, but you're also getting a lot more property, and not just the land. I also mean the physical interior space. You have a lot more space. For some homes, we have here in the GTA market, in Ontario, it's very common to see basements. The great thing with basements is if they do have a separate entrance and they have the separate kitchen and bathroom and a room downstairs, you can rent them out. And the great thing is the rental market is increasing, and it's already very high actually, and it keeps increasing. Which means for you as a home buyer, buying that unit, living upstairs, maybe you have 2 or 3 bedrooms upstairs for yourself, you can rent out that basement, the 1 or 2 bedrooms downstairs, and you'll see some positive cash flow there. We see 1 bedrooms renting for over $1,500, $1,600 per month. 2 bedrooms are near the $2,000 per month range, and that's a 2-bedroom basement. So keep that in mind when you're doing the calculations, that there are some benefits with going with the larger unit as your first-time home purchase. Now again, one thing I want to emphasize is, yes, there are these options for you. Yes, there are some advantages for going with either case. But most important thing I like to tell people is home ownership does not have to be a long-term goal for you. It should be a shorter goal for you. It should be like sooner. And the reason for that is time in the market is more important than timing the market. What we mean by that is you want to buy real estate and wait. You don't want to wait to buy the real estate. And simply, you gotta just sit down with a professional and see what makes sense for your case, because each case is different. So thank you again for watching. Please share this video with your friends and like it if you like it. And if you have any comments, please critique it as much as you like. I do appreciate that. Thank you and have a great day. Cheers.